Welcome to the Digital Gallery's exhibit of the Britannia Depicta, a road atlas of Britain published in 1720 by John Owen and engraved by Emmanuel Bowen. This atlas was based on the Britannia Atlas of 1675, created by John Ogilby. Now, I became interested in publishing this atlas after preparing for a recent IMCOS meeting when David Webb presented a strip roadmap from the 1700s by Henry Moll. And here it is here. Henry Moll was a famous English cartographer. And also at the same meeting, Daniel Crouch presented another roadmap, one of the earliest of Britain, called the Chaworth Roll from roughly 1320. And here are Daniel's slides from that presentation. The Chaworth Roll is this one right here. And it's got a roadmap sort of embedded into it. That's fascinating. So a few words about Ogilby and Bowen. So Ogilby was a survivor and a very determined man. He was many things before being a cartographer. He was a translator, an impresario, a tutor, but he got his start, interestingly enough, as a dance instructor, which he did in his teens to support his family after his father had gone to jail because of bankruptcy. Ogilby did very well as a dancer and created his own dancing school, but his career ended because of an injury. He then used his highborn clients from dancing to establish himself as a tutor, an educational tutor, and he again became very successful. And his life was a circuit like this that repeated himself over several times, striving, succeeding, being set back, then reinventing himself with determination, and ultimately being successful again. He got to cartography and map making because he had another setback during the Irish Revolution and came back to England sort of penniless and learned how to speak Latin and translated Virgil and became a publisher. And that publishing led to being in cartography. Emmanuel Bowen, the engraver of the Britannia Depicta Atlas, did not do as well as Ogilby. He became the cartographer to the King George of Great Britain and Louis XV of France, and so was successful in that regard in his business, but he died penniless, and his son would ultimately suffer a similar fate and died penniless and in a workhouse. Okay, now as far as my favorite parts of this atlas, there are several. Most of the favorite parts have to do with the details of this atlas, which are really striking, whether the road was made of brick or stone or wood, whether you're going uphill or downhill. This atlas was published for over a century, and these updates included new illustrations and new text. The pages were engraved on both sides to allow for a smaller publication, and thus it became more carryable. Okay, so we're going to look at a few things here. I love the coats of arms, and in the dots you can see more about all of them. You can also see a little bit about London here in the coats of arms. Okay, let's go to page 22. I was tickled by this. This is the map of London, and it always goes uphill. It goes, the traveling away from London goes in this direction, and then it comes back down here. And so traveling out of London, you go by this town, now firmly in London, called Kensington, which was written about as a pretty town, well-built and populous. And it is a palace royal at which, though not magnificent, is very convenient and delightful. Let's go on to 26, where there's a description of London that's fun to read through that. Okay. This is the whole bit about the hills. So whether the hills are, these hills look like they're normal, right? The peaks are showing towards the top of the page, and these hills look like they're upside down. Well, the way that that works is if you're traveling from the bottom of the map to the top, that means you're going uphill at this point, and then you're going downhill here where the hills are upside down. Conversely, if you were coming from the top of the map going down, this would be uphill, and this would be downhill. So that was kind of a clever thing that they did. Page 56, more description of London, but also description of this town called Loughborough. And you can see in the dot here, it says, let's look at this. It says it is a well-built town, has a large parish church and a market on Thursday. Well, that market is still going to this day. Page 70 has these wonderful maps of these islands, both the Isle of Man, I believe, is this one, and then Guernsey, the Isle of Wight. So those are delightful. Page 84 shows a description of Cambridge University. Lovely. And then page 104, the descriptions didn't always go in the same place as the map. So this is the description of the smaller islands that we just looked at, Guernsey and Isle of Man, Isle of Wight. So they didn't always go in the same next to the maps. Let's see. This the text here shows a river going through Thetford, and the dot here, well, the note says that the river is navigable, right here, navigable, and you can see the modern day version of that same river. Okay, we're going to go now to page 110, where you can see now we're describing Oxford University. And then a couple of my favorites for sure are the arms for all the colleges at Oxford. And we picked up pictures of all of these and put them into the dots. One thing to note about the dots, if you open the dot, you can then scroll down and read the text. You can also move from dot to dot. This is 18, you can see up above it's going. So if you want to look at all the dots by themselves, you can do that. So this is Cambridge, and then on the next page, you can see all the colleges of Oxford and the same thing. So my thanks to the David Rumsey Map Center for the images in this exhibit. They are wonderful. I really appreciate the Rumsey Center and all that they do. To Daniel Crouch for his recent presentation showing his examples of early road maps, including the Chaworth roll. To David Webb for his presentation of the Herman Mole strip map, and to a gentleman named Daniel Boulet, who has put together a wonderful analysis of the Britannia Depicta. That's it. Enjoy.